Hello, my dear friends, and welcome. It's David, your guide to the land of deep rest and faraway stories. If you're new here, you found a sanctuary, a place where we slow down, let the noise of the world fade away, and journey together through words into the realms of sleep and imagination. I craft long, detailed sleep stories, each one a world unto itself, designed to unwind your mind over many minutes, carrying you gently into a peaceful night's rest. If you find yourself returning to this channel, seeking that quiet space to decompress, then consider this an invitation. By subscribing, you're not just clicking a button. You're choosing to make this gentle journey a part of your nightly ritual. You're telling me, David, your voice is my signal to relax, and I am so honored to be that for you. So, if you're ready to join our community of dreamers and restful explorers, please do subscribe. It truly helps this channel grow, allowing me to bring more of these expansive, calming worlds to you. Tonight, we embark on an extraordinary journey, not to a fantasy realm, but to a place on our own planet that feels almost otherworldly in its reality. We are traveling to Yakutsk, the coldest city on Earth. For the next while, we will not just hear about this place. We will live within it. We will feel the crunch of permafrost underfoot, witness the breathtaking beauty of the Lena River, understand the profound resilience of the Saka people, and confront the stark, daily challenges of life at 60 degrees below zero. This is a story of ice and indomitable warmth, of ancient traditions meeting modern struggles, of a city and a wilderness locked in a perpetual, breathtaking dance. So, my friend, wherever you are, make yourself comfortable. Let your breathing deepen. Let your eyes grow heavy, and allow yourself to be transported, detail by vivid detail, to the heart of Siberia, to Yakutsk. The first thing you must understand is that the cold here is not simply weather. It is a geography of its own, a vast, silent continent of air that settles over the land and dictates the terms of all existence. As you step from the plane onto the tarmac of Yakutsk's airport, the cold does not greet you. It absorbs you. That first breath is a shock, so complete, it feels less like breathing, and more like the inhalation of a clear, sharp crystal. The air, at 40, 50, even 60 degrees below zero, has a weight and a texture. It stings the nostrils, freezes the moisture in your eyelashes into tiny, delicate chains of ice, and seems to ring with a silent, high-pitched frequency. This cold is a total environment. You see the city through a perpetual gentle haze, not fog, but the suspended breath of 300,000 people, the exhaust of never-stilled engines, the steam rising from manhole covers, where buried heating mains struggle against the eternal frost. The buildings do not rise from the ground in the usual way. They stand atop thick, heavy piles rooted deep into the permafrost, because to build directly on the earth is to invite disaster. The ground here is frozen solid to depths of hundreds of meters, a relic of the last ice age. And if you allow a building's warmth to thaw even the top layers, the entire structure will list and sink into a sudden quagmire. So the city is elevated, a cluster of brightly painted blocks in blues and yellows and greens, sitting on stilts above a foundation of eternal ice. The streets are wide, designed to accommodate not traffic, but snow, great sculpted cliffs of it, cleared by roaring plows and left to linger well into the brief, feverish summer. The cars are a spectacle of survival themselves, left running for hours, sometimes days, their engines chugging under blankets and insulated hoods, their tires looking hard as stone. People move between them, not in walks, but in determined, efficient journeys, bundled into shapes that are almost formless. They wear great shaggy coats of reindeer fur, the hoods trimmed with the silver fur of the Arctic fox, and boots made from the soft, textured skin of the reindeer's leg, which grips the ice with a miracle of natural traction. You see only their eyes, bright and dark above knitted balaclavas, and in those eyes you see a particular kind of knowledge, a deep, bodily understanding of this cold that is as innate as a fish's understanding of water. Life here is a series of calculated transitions. You do not simply go from your home to the store. You prepare. The ritual of dressing a child for school is a 10-minute ceremony of layering. Thermal silk, then wool, then fleece, then down, then the final gigantic pukovichka, the down-filled overalls that transform them into a waddling, cozy bundle. The walk, even if just a few hundred meters, is a journey through a world of exaggerated sound. The cold air is dense, and it carries noise with a brittle clarity. The crunch of snow underfoot is not a soft, muffled sound, but a sharp, squeaking snap, like walking on styrofoam. A voice from across the street arrives at your ear, as if the speaker were right beside you, and then you reach your destination, the warm, humid blast of a doorway, the struggle to unpeel layers in a cramped vestibule, the sudden sweat under all that insulation. This is the constant daily dance. The careful management of microclimates, the preservation of core warmth against the leaching void just beyond the door. The darkness of winter is another layer to this existence. Open. In December, the sun barely crests the horizon, offering only a few hours of twilight, a dim blue glow that does little to warm the spirit. This polar night, this Timir, has a psychological weight. The body craves sunlight, vitamin D, a visual cue for the circadian rhythm. People combat it with bright full-spectrum lamps, with supplements, and most of all, with a fierce commitment to social warmth. Inside, the city is vibrant. Cafes are full of the smell of strong sweet tea and fried panchiki, donuts dusted with sugar. The theaters, the magnificent Saka Theater, with its epic tales of heroes and spirits, and the Russian Drama Theater are packed. Concerts, poetry readings, university lectures, all flourish. In the long darkness, culture is not a luxury. It is a necessary fire around which the community huddles. The coal seeps into the very bones of infrastructure. Above the streets, a chaotic web of pipes and cables runs on rickety gantries. These are the utilitars, the life support system. Burying water mains is nearly impossible. They would freeze instantly and rupture. Salt water and heating steam travel in these insulated above-ground arteries, constantly bleeding heat into the air, contributing to the city's own weather. Even so, pipes freeze and burst with predictable regularity. The asphalt of the roads is in a perpetual state of disintegration, shattered by the iron fist of frost heave, creating potholes that become icy lakes. The most profound challenge, however, is isolation. Yakutsk is an island. There is no year-round road connecting it to the rest of Russia. For 2 brief periods each year, during the great thaw of spring and the great freeze of autumn, the city is completely cut off from land. The mighty Lena River, a mile-wide ribbon of ice in winter, becomes an impassable barrier of churning, freezing flows. In deep winter, the river itself becomes the road. Truckers, heroes of the cold, pilot heavy rigs along the official Zimnik. The ice road, a path cleared and marked on the frozen surface. The journey is perilous, a slow crawl across a landscape where a mistake or a too thin patch of ice can mean a sudden, silent disappearance into the black water below. In summer, ferries ply the brown, powerful current. This isolation makes everything expensive. A tomato, a lemon, a banana. These are not simple fruits, but precious cargo, flown in from thousands of miles away, their cost reflecting the vast cold distances they have crossed. Local sustenance comes from the land, in a tradition that stretches back millennia. The Saka diet is a testament to caloric necessity and preservation. Frozen raw fish, sliced thinly, is a delicacy called stroganina. Thick slabs of frozen horse or reindeer meat are taken like ice cream. Dairy is fermented into a tangy, nutritious drink called kumi, in a place where refrigeration is as simple as a box on the balcony. Freezing is not just preservation. It is a method of cooking and consumption. But this ancient relationship with the frozen land is now facing its greatest threat. The permafrost, the very foundation of everything here, is warming. It is a slow-motion crisis. Buildings carefully balanced on their piles are beginning to tilt as the once solid ground beneath them soften. Roads subside into strange, undulating waves. In the countryside, the thawing earth is opening up vast sinkholes, some releasing plumes of ancient methane gas. And with the melting ice, the land is yielding up its deepest secrets. The perfectly preserved carcasses of woolly mammoths, steppe bison, and cave lions, creatures locked in time for tens of thousands of years. This has spawned a desperate illegal trade, the tusk rush. Men risk everything to trek into the wilderness, to the melting riverbanks, to extract the precious ivory from these beasts, selling it on a black market that spans the globe. It is a dangerous life, a clash between desperate economics and a warming world, a stark symbol of how the changing climate is rewriting the rules of survival here. Yet, through all of this, the spirit of the Saka people, the original inhabitants of this land, endures with a quiet, profound strength. Their worldview is not one of conquering nature, but of existing within its immense power. They see spirit in everything, in the trees, the rivers, the rocks, the wind. The cold itself is personified as Chiskan, the Lord of Frost, a powerful, respected spirit to be honored with rituals and offerings. Their epic poetry, the Olonko, recounts the deeds of heroes and the dialogues with spirits of the land, a vast oral literature that is a map for living in this world. In the short, glorious summer, the land undergoes a miraculous transformation. The temperature can soar to 35 degrees Celsius. The snow vanishes, replaced by a riot of wildflowers and dense green grass. The Lena River shakes off its icy carapace and flows, wide and powerful and brown. Mosquitoes rise in thick, humming clouds. People flock to their dachas, small summer cabins, to tend gardens, forage for berries and mushrooms, and soak in the 24 hours of daylight, a time of frantic, joyful activity known as the White Nights. It is a time of renewal, of remembering that the earth beneath the frost is alive. Life in Yakutsk is a study in profound contrasts. It is the metallic taste of the air at 60 below, and the sweet, fermented taste of kumes shared among friends in a warm kitchen. It is the silence of a winter night, broken only by the crack of freezing trees, and the exuberant noise of a summer festival with traditional Comas jaw harps humming and energetic dances. It is the anxiety of a warming climate threatening your home's foundation, and the deep ancestral comfort of knowing your people have weathered impossible cold for centuries. It is a place where modern technology, the smartphone, the satellite internet, the Japanese SU, exists in a constant, immediate dialogue with the ancient elemental forces of ice and darkness. To live here is to hold two truths in your mind at once: that the world is unimaginably harsh, and that within it, human warmth, creativity, and community are not just possible, but are forged to a brilliance unmatched in easier climates. The people of Yakutsk do not simply endure the cold. They have built a civilization within it, a culture shaped by its contours, a life that finds its meaning not in spite of the cold, but in a continuous, respectful, and resilient conversation with it. So as you drift towards sleep, imagine that vast, silent landscape. Imagine the gentle glow of a window in the long blue twilight, a beacon of warmth in the eternal frost. Imagine the steady rhythm of a heart beating slowly, calmly, powerfully, in the deepest cold on earth. It is a testament to life's tenacity, a quiet, persistent pulse in the great white silence. Let that image of resilience, of warmth carefully maintained against the cold, settle over your own mind. Let your thoughts slow, like the gradual freezing of a still pond. Let your breathing become deep and even, a steady, warm rhythm within you. You are safe, you are warm, you are resting, and as you rest, the story of that far-off, frozen city blends with the edges of your own dreams. A landscape of quiet endurance, leading you deeper and deeper into a peaceful, restorative night. Sleep well, my friend. The cold is the first thing, the last thing, the ever-present thing. It is not an absence, but a solid, silent kingdom. To arrive in Yakutsk in deep winter is to step into another element. As the aircraft door opens, the shock is not of temperature, but of transformation. The air, at 50 degrees below zero, does not feel like air. It feels like a substance, clean and sharp as a diamond blade, rushing in to claim every space. That first conscious breath is a stunning event. It freezes the tiny hairs inside your nose, crystallizes the moisture on your eyelashes into a delicate fringe of ice, and rings in your lungs with a pure, painful clarity. This is a cold that commands immediate, total respect. You see the city initially through the haze of its own exhalations, the great plumes of steam from power plants fighting the endless freeze, the collective breath of its inhabitants. The landscape itself seems born of chill. The buildings, painted in surprisingly cheerful blues, yellows, and greens to combat the long monochrome of winter, do not rise from the ground in the usual way. They perch atop it, elevated on heavy, stout piles driven deep into the permafrost. This permafrost is the true, unyielding foundation of Yakutsk, ground that has remained frozen for thousands of years, a bedrock of ice and soil that lies mere feet below the surface and extends down for hundreds of meters. To build directly upon it is to invite catastrophe. The heat from a building would slowly thaw the top layers, turning the solid earth into a spongy, unstable morass, causing walls to crack and foundations to sink. So the entire city stands on stilts, a precarious yet permanent testament to human ingenuity over an immutable, frozen force. The streets are extraordinarily wide, not for grand boulevards, but to accommodate the immense snowbanks, sculpted by wind and plow into great hardened white cliffs that line the roads from November until May. Cars are a study in adaptation. Battered, tough-looking vehicles, mostly four-wheel drive vans or Japanese SUVs with secondary petrol heaters visible as extra exhausts near the front wheel. They are left running outside shops, outside apartments, sometimes for entire days. A low, constant chugging that forms the bass note of the city's winter soundscape. And the people, when they emerge, are transformed into shapes of pure function. They are bundles of fur and down, moving with a deliberate, efficient gait. They wear unti, boots crafted from the soft, hairy skin of a reindeer's leg, which provides a miraculous, natural grip on the slickest ice. Their parkas, called pukovichki, are thick with goose down or lined with the pelts of fox, sable, or wolf. The hoods framing faces that are often hidden behind knitted balaclavas or scarves. You see only their eyes, bright, dark, and watchful, framed by frost-whitened eyebrows and lashes. In those eyes is a particular, hard-won knowledge, a physical literacy of cold that reads the subtle signs in the air, the snow, the quality of silence. A day here begins not with the sun, for in the depth of December there is barely any, but with the ritual of preparation. Dressing a child for school is an exercise in patience and physics, a layering of silk, wool, fleece, and down that takes 10 full minutes and results in a small, round, barely mobile creature who waddles to the door. The walk to school, even if only a few blocks, is a journey through an alien sensory world. The cold air is dense, and it carries sound with a brittle crystalline fidelity. The crunch of snow underfoot is a high-pitched squeak, like styrofoam. A conversation from across the wide street arrives at your ear, as if the speakers were standing right beside you. The cold seeps in through the tiniest gap, a wrist left momentarily exposed when reaching for a key, a sliver of neck between scarf and hood. It is a searching, insistent presence. And then, the destination, the heavy door of a building, the rush of warm, humid air from within, the immediate uncomfortable prickling of sweat under all the layers in the cramped, overstuffed vestibule. This is the constant daily dance of Yakutsk, the relentless transition between the oven-like heat of interiors and the deep freeze of the outside, a dance that requires constant vigilance and energy. The darkness is another layer, a psychological blanket that settles for months. The sun, in late December, makes a brief, shallow arc just above the southern horizon, offering perhaps 3 or 4 hours of a dim, twilight blue. It is not enough to warm the skin or the spirit. This polar night, or Taimir, has a tangible weight. The body craves sunlight, yearns for the vitamin D it cannot produce, and the mind can drift into a state of melancholy, a seasonal lethargy that locals acknowledge and actively combat. They do so with bright, full-spectrum lamps in homes and offices, with determined doses of vitamins, and, most powerfully, with a fierce commitment to social and cultural warmth. Inside, the city is alive with a vibrant, almost urgent, social energy. The cafes are havens of steam and scent, filled with the rich aroma of strong black tea, sweet pastries, and ponchiki, small, sugar-dusted donuts. The theaters, particularly the magnificent Saka Theater, with its epic tales of heroes and spirits drawn from the Olonko tradition, are bustling. Concerts, poetry readings, art exhibitions, and university lectures thrive. In the endless external night, these gatherings are not mere entertainment. They are vital fires around which the community huddles, generating a light and warmth that the sun cannot provide. This internal vibrancy exists in stark contrast to the profound silence of the outside world at night. A silence so complete it has its own sound, a faint, ringing stillness. The infrastructure of Yakutsk is a visible, ongoing battle against the elements. Above the streets, a chaotic, rickety labyrinth of pipes and cables runs on wooden or metal gantries. These are the utilidors, the exposed veins and arteries of the city. Burying water in heating mains is a futile endeavor. They would freeze instantly and rupture. So the hot water, the heating steam, the electrical cables, all travel through these insulated, above-ground conduits, constantly bleeding precious heat into the frigid air and contributing to the city's own microclimate of steam and fog. Despite this, pipe bursts are a commonplace disaster. The asphalt on the roads is perpetually losing its war with the frost. Each winter, moisture seeps into tiny cracks, freezes, expands, and shatters the pavement from within. Each summer, hasty repairs are made, only for the process to begin again with the next freeze. The result is a moonscape of potholes, some vast enough to swallow a car tire, which then fill with ice and snow, becoming hidden traps for the unwary driver. But the most defining challenge of Yakutsk is its breathtaking isolation. It is an island in a sea of taiga and tundra. There is no permanent road connection to the rest of Russia. For 2 perilous liminal periods each year, the Rasputitsa of spring thaw and autumn freeze, the city is completely cut off from land-based supply. The mighty Lena River, over a mile wide here, is the barrier. In summer, it is a powerful, brown, navigable waterway. In winter, it is a solid, uneven plain of ice, thick enough to support the weight of trucks. This transformation gives birth to the legendary ice road, the Zimny. This is not a road in any conventional sense, but a marked path cleared and maintained on the frozen surface of the river and the land beyond. Truckers, a special breed of stoic, risk-taking drivers, pilot their heavy laden rigs along this treacherous ribbon for the 1,200-kilometer journey to the nearest railhead. It is a slow, tense, and lonely voyage. The rules are strict. Maintain exact speed. Never stop. Keep windows open to listen for the terrifying sound of cracking ice. A mistake, a moment of inattention, or a hidden weak spot can mean a sudden, horrifying plunge through the ice into the black, sub-zero water below. A death that is often instant and always silent. This monumental isolation is the reason for the exorbitant cost of everything. A simple piece of fruit, a banana, an apple, a tomato, is a luxury item, having traveled by air or by a long, refrigerated journey during the brief summer shipping window. Its price reflects the vast frozen geography it has crossed. This reality shapes the local diet into one of profound resourcefulness and tradition. Here, freezing is not just a method of preservation. It is a method of preparation and consumption. Stroganina is a celebrated dish. Thin, delicate shavings of raw, frozen fish, usually white fish or nelma, served with a dip of salt and pepper. It is clean, crisp, and shockingly fresh. Blocks of frozen raw horse, liver or reindeer meat are sliced and eaten almost like a popsicle. A potent, iron-rich burst of energy. Dairy is central, often fermented into kumis, a slightly alcoholic, tangy drink made from mare's milk, or sorat, a thick, yogurt-like substance. In a place where a balcony or a windowsill is a more reliable freezer than any plugged-in appliance, the people have turned the omnipresent cold into a culinary tool. Yet, this ancient, delicate balance with the frozen world is now facing an unprecedented threat from a warming planet. Climate change is not a distant abstract concept in Yakutia. It is a visible, unsettling reality happening in real time. The permafrost, the very foundation upon which every building, road, and pipeline rests, is beginning to thaw. This thaw is not uniform or gentle. It is causing the ground to become unstable, to subside in strange, unpredictable ways. Buildings that have stood straight for decades on their sturdy piles are now developing alarming tilt. Roads are buckling into surreal, wavy patterns. In the surrounding wilderness, the thawing earth is collapsing into vast new sinkholes called thermokarsts, some releasing bubbles of methane, a greenhouse gas far more potent than carbon dioxide, thereby accelerating. And as the permafrost recedes, it is revealing the past. The bodies of Pleistocene animals, woolly mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, cave lions, even an ancient foal, are emerging from the melting banks of rivers and lakes, perfectly preserved with skin, hair, and this has sparked a modern-day gold rush. But for ivory, desperate, often impoverished men, known as tusk hunters, venture into the remote, lawless wilderness with little more than high-pressure water pumps to blast away the softening silt, searching for the valuable tusks of mammoth. It is a brutal, dangerous, and illegal trade, pitting men against a harsh landscape, criminal gangs, and the unpredictable melting ground itself. It is a stark and tragic symbol of how global changes are disrupting the ancient, sustainable rhythms of life here, forcing people into new and perilous relationships with their own environment. But beneath and through all these monumental challenges, the cold, the darkness, the isolation, the creeping threat of a thawing world, flows the deep, resilient spirit of the Saka people. Theirs is not a culture of conquest over nature, but of profound dialogue with it. Their indigenous worldview is animistic and shamanistic. They see spirit, or ichi, in everything, in the towering larch trees, in the stones of a riverbank, in the fire, in the wind. The cold itself is personified as Chiskan, the Lord of Frost, a powerful, respected deity who is honored with annual rituals and offerings, not cursed. Their epic oral poetry, the Olonko, is a UNESCO-recognized masterpiece, a vast cycle of stories that recounts the creation of the world, the adventures of mythical heroes, and the complex relationships between humans, spirits, and animals. This literature is not merely art. It is a philosophical and practical guide for living in harmony with a capricious and powerful world. The contrast of seasons here is almost unimaginable in its extremity. The summer, though brief, is explosively vibrant. Temperatures can soar to a sweltering 35 degrees Celsius. The snow vanishes, replaced by a sudden, lush explosion of wildflowers, grasses, and berries. The Lena River sheds its icy armor and flows. Wide, powerful, and muddy, mosquitoes and midges rise in thick, humming clouds, a plague that is the price of the green world. This is the time of the white nights, when the sun dips only slightly below the horizon, bathing the land in an eerie, perpetual twilight. Life moves outdoors with a frantic, joyful energy. People escape to their dachas, small summer cabins, to tend vegetable gardens, forage for mushrooms and cloudberries, and fish in the countless rivers and lakes. It is a season of intense labor, of storing up not just food, but light and warmth in the memory and in the body, to be drawn upon during the long winter to come. Life in Yakutsk, therefore, is a perpetual exercise in holding opposites in balance. It is the metallic clean pain of a lungful of air at 60 below, and the sweet, fermented tang of shared cummies in a friend's kitchen, filled with laughter. It is the profound ringing silence of a January night, and the energetic, polyphonic hum of a Comus Joa harp ensemble at a summer festival. It is the anxiety of watching your apartment building develop a new crack as the permafrost beneath it softens, and the deep, ancient comfort of knowing your ancestors survived in tents on this very land through winters just as cold. It is a place where the latest smartphone model exists alongside 1,000-year-old spiritual practices, where a climate-controlled Toyota Land Cruiser navigates the same potholed street as a man in traditional reindeer skin robes. The people of Yakutsk have not just adapted to their environment, they have created a unique, rich, and deeply human civilization within its fierce embrace. Their warmth is not taken for granted, it is earned, cherished, and generously shared. Their resilience is not a grim stubbornness, but a creative cultural force. To drift to sleep now is to imagine that world. Picture the single, warm glow of a window. In the vast blue twilight of a winter afternoon, imagine the steady, reliable chugging of a heating plant, the heartbeat of the city. Feel the contrast of the immense, star-dusted cold outside and the cocoon of warmth you have built for yourself right now. Wherever you are listening, let that feeling of safe, cherished warmth spread from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Let your breathing become as slow and steady as the frozen Lena River, deep and still. Let the image of that resilient city, a testament to life's enduring pulse in the most challenging of places, lull your mind into a state of profound peace. You are safe, you are warm, you are resting. And as you rest, the story of Yakutsk, of ice and endurance, blends into the fabric of your own quiet night, guiding you deeper and deeper into a soft and dreamless sleep. The deep cold does more than shape the buildings and the daily routines. It sculpts time itself. In Yakutsk, time feels different. It is not a linear march, but a cyclical expansion and contraction. A great inhale and exhale that lasts for months. The winter inhale is long, slow, and inward. Life retreats into warm, lit interiors, conversations in kitchens, linger for hours over endless pots of tea, the steam clouding the windows, ceiling in the story. These are the times when genealogy, the intricate web of Kesep, becomes a living map recited by elders. Family histories are not mere facts, but survival logs, noting who had the skills to build a smokehouse that held heat, who knew which stand of larch trees yielded the most resilient timber, which ant had the secret for stitching the soul of an unta so that not a single thread would. The stories from the Olanko epics are told not as children's fables, but as essential code, manuals of metaphysics that explain why you must always offer a small piece of food to the fire before you eat, or why you must never whistle indoors in winter, lest you summon the wind. This deep interior time is when the intricate art of the Saka people flourishes in quiet spaces, the carving of mammoth ivory into delicate jewelry, the blacksmithing of fine patterned steel in a tradition said to be blessed by the smith god Kai. This is not hobby. It is the preservation of memory in material form, a defiance of the white silence outside that seeks to erase detail. The cold, in its strange way, becomes a curator of culture, forcing it inward, making it deep, detailed, and intensely personal. Even the problems of the city take on a different, slower, more monumental dimension in this expanded winter time. A water pipe burst is not a quick fix, it is an event. Yet, the steam from the ruptured line in the utilitator freezes instantly, creating a grotesque, beautiful sculpture of ice that grows by the hour, enveloping the wooden gantry in a cascading waterfall turned to solid crystal. Repair crews, looking like astronauts in their heavy gear, must work in rotating shifts of just 15 minutes outside. The process of thawing, welding, and re-insulating is a battle fought in tiny increments, a war of attrition against an enemy that never tires. A simple journey across town to visit a friend requires the logistical planning of a small expedition. You must calculate the time your car has been off, the reliability of its preheater, the potential traffic delays around the latest sinkhole slowly appearing in the middle of Savitskaya Street. Social plans are made with a caveat: if the car starts. This constant negotiation with the environment breeds a particular kind of patience, a profound lack of surprise at inconvenience. Fury at the cold is as pointless as fury at gravity. It simply is. So, instead, a dark, dry, resilient humor flourishes. They joke that there are only two seasons, winter and construction, though the latter is a frantic 6-week race against time in the summer. They say Yakutsk native is someone who considers -30 balmy, and who goes outside to cool off when the apartment overheats. This humor is a pressure valve, a way of acknowledging the absurdity of life on the permafrost without succumbing to despair. And then, there is the wilderness that begins where the city's steam clouds end. It is not a recreational space, but a sovereign, sleeping giant. The taiga, a billion silent larch and pine trees, each sheathed in a thick, fuzzy layer of hoarfrost, stretches to every horizon. To venture into it in winter is to enter a cathedral of stillness, so profound it feels sacred and threatening in equal measure. The Saka have a deep spiritual relationship with this forest. Hunters, following the faint trails of sable or fox, will perform small rituals before entering, leaving offerings of butter or kummies for the master spirit of the place. Bayanai. They know the rules, speak in hushed tones, take only what you need, never boast of your luck. The wilderness provides, but it also punishes hubris instantly and without mercy. A slipped snowmobile track, a misjudged distance in the featureless white, a failed spark plug, Any small error can become a death sentence in less than an hour as the cold performs its swift, efficient work. This ever-present danger, this intimate knowledge of one's own fragility, forges a community bond that is exceptionally strong. The concept of helping a stranger is not merely polite. It is an ironclad law of survival. If you see car headlights stopped on the side of the road at night, you stop. You always stop. It might be nothing, or it might be a family whose heat has failed, minutes away from freezing to death in their own vehicle. No one would ever drive past. This creates a social fabric woven with threads of absolute, non-negotiable, interdependent. You know you might be the one needing help next week, next month. This shared vulnerability in the face of an immense, impersonal force is the true bedrock of Yakutsk society, harder than the permafrost itself. Spring, when it finally, tentatively arrives, is not a gentle thaw, but a violent, messy awakening called Sagim. The snow doesn't melt so much as it disintegrates, becoming coarse and granular, losing its reflective brilliance. The soundscape of the city changes dramatically. The constant, low chugging of engines is joined by a new symphony. The thunderous crash of giant icicles falling from rooftops. The gurgle and rush of meltwater coursing through the streets in frantic, temporary rivers. The deep, groaning cracks echoing. This is the most dangerous time of year. The Zimnik ice road closes, its surface turning to a treacherous, slushy soup. The land route is impossible, a bottomless bog of half-frozen mud, known as the Rasputsa, the time without road. For these weeks, Yakutsk is an island in truth, reachable only by air or by the brave captains of the first river barges waiting for the ice to clear. The city itself becomes damp and muddy. The beautiful, crisp snowbanks transform into grimy, blackened mounds, littered with the debris they swallowed all winter. The permafrost, still frozen deep down, creates an impermeable layer, so all the meltwater has nowhere to go but to flood the streets and basements. It is a season of wet boots, of sludge, of a pervasive damp chill that can feel even more penetrating than the dry cold of deep winter. But in this mess, there is a palpable, collective excitement. People's faces, hidden for months, are visible again. There is smiling, squinting in the suddenly potent sunlight. The first patches of bare brown earth are greeted like old friends. Then, summer arrives with the force of an explosion. It is as extreme in its heat as winter is in its cold. The sun, which barely showed itself for months, now refuses to set, circling the sky in a 24-hour cycle of golden light. This is the white nights, a time of frantic, almost manic energy. The city sheds its winter skin. Those same wide streets designed for snow become vibrant promenades. Outdoor markets spring up, overflowing with the first fragile produce from local greenhouses. Crisp cucumbers, bunches of radishes, fragrant dill, the scent of smoking yucca, dried fish, fills the air near the riverbanks. The Lena, now a mighty, brown, mile-wide highway, comes alive with boats, rusty ferries, speedboats, the barges that bring the year's supply of fuel, building materials, and consumer goods. This is the city's lifeline, and every day of open water is precious. Everyone seems to be moving, doing, building. The constant hum of construction is everywhere, as every repair, every new building project, every painting job must be compressed into these 10 short weeks. People escape to their dachas not for leisure, but for intense subsistence labor. Gardens are tilled and planted with shocking speed. The forest is scoured for berries, the tart red brusnica, the sweet blue golubika, the prized orange cloudberries that grow in the marshy tundra. Mushrooms are gathered and strung up to dry in long, fragrant garlands. This is the season of accumulation, of storing not just food in jars and cellars, but light and warmth in the very cells of the body, a biological reserve to be drawn upon in the dark times ahead. The heat brings its own discomfort. Swarms of mosquitoes so thick they form clouds, a humid heaviness that clings to the skin. But no one complains. To complain about the heat in Yakutsk is the greatest heresy. It is a gift, fleeting and glorious. And within this cycle, the ancient and the modern perform their own intricate dance. In the same week, you might witness a young Saka man in designer jeans, launching a drone from the banks of the Lena to capture aerial footage, while upstream, an elder performs a solemn algaes blessing ceremony. A state-of-the-art clinic offering telemedicine consultations with specialists in Moscow might sit across the street from a traditional healer, an Oyun, who treats patients with herbs gathered from the taiga and rituals passed down through generations. This is not a contradiction to the people of Yakutsk. It is simply pragmatism. It is simply pragmatism. They take what works from the modern world, the internet that connects them to the globe, the reliable four-wheel drive, the advanced insulation materials, and weave it seamlessly into the ancient, durable fabric of their survival knowledge. The smartphone might have an app for tracking weather radars, but it also holds photos of the family's sacred surge, hitching post, and recordings of a grandmother singing an old Olonko melody. Both are considered essential tools for living. Yet, threading through this resilient daily life is the new, slow-burning anxiety of the thaw. It whispers in the new cracks that appear in apartment walls each spring. It shouts from the headlines about another village in the Republic that must be relocated because the ground is liquefying beneath it. It is felt in the unease when winter arrives later and leaves earlier, when the snow is wetter, the ice on the river thinner. The mammoth tusk hunters are just one visible symptom of a deeper dislocation. As the old frozen ways become unstable, so too do the economic and social structures built upon them. Younger generations, educated and connected to the world via the internet, face a difficult choice: to stay and try to innovate a future on this softening ground, or to leave for the more predictable, easier climates of Western Russia. This creates a quiet heartache in families, a new kind of separation anxiety layered atop the old geographical one. The elders, who possess the deep knowledge of the cold, find their expertise sometimes rendered obsolete by a climate that no longer follows the old rules. The permafrost is not just melting, it is taking with it a sense of predictability, the very foundation of trust upon which this fearless life was built. Now, the people must be fearless in a new way, not just toward the cold, but toward uncertainty itself. They are becoming pioneers again, but on a shifting, unfamiliar landscape of their own home. So life in Yakutsk continues, a profound lesson in duality. It is the sound of a child's laughter echoing in a playground on a sunny June night at 11 p.m., and the sound of that same child's quiet breathing, bundled in furs, under a sky of endless stars in January. It is the taste of cold, metallic air, and the taste of warm, salty stroganina on the tongue. It is the feeling of the earth, solid and reliable, as stone beneath your feet when it is frozen, and the feeling of that same earth turning spongy and uncertain beneath you in a warm summer. It is a city that looks to the future with a determined, innovative spirit, building high-tech research institutes to study the very permafrost that is disappearing, while simultaneously looking back with deep reverence to the spirits. The people of Yakutsk understand in their bones that warmth is not the default state of the universe. It is a precious, temporary victory, tirelessly won each day against the immense, cold stillness that surrounds all of existence. Theirs is a civilization that celebrates the fragile, beautiful flame of life, not in spite of the darkness, but precisely because of it. They have learned to find a profound, unshakable coziness, not in comfort, but in resilience, not in absence of challenge, but in the absence of challenge, but in the collective, creative, and often humorous response to it. To sleep now, to let your consciousness drift, is to embrace a fraction of that profound peace. Imagine yourself there, in a snug apartment, the triple-paned window holding back the deep indigo of the winter night. Outside, the streetlights cast a soft orange glow on the snow, and the world is silent save for the occasional distant groan of the settling frost. Inside, you are safe. You are warm. The immense, quiet strength of that distant city, a testament to the enduring human spirit, becomes a lullaby for your own soul. Let your breaths grow longer, slower, deeper. Let each exhale be a release of any lingering tension, melting away like a snowflake on a warm stove. Feel the weight of your body supported and still. You are held, just as that city is held in the vastness of Siberia. And as you sink deeper into rest, know that resilience is not always loud or hard. Sometimes it is as soft as falling snow, as gentle as a remembered summer sun, as continuous and sleep deeply and peacefully. The intimate relationship with the frozen world extends even into the realm of the dead. Cemeteries in Yakutsk hold a particular, poignant challenge. Digging a grave in the permafrost is a task for machinery, for jackhammers and pneumatic drills that screech and whine against the iron-hard earth. The summer window for burials is brief, often requiring families to wait through the long winter to lay a loved one to rest. A prolonged period of mourning held in suspension by the very ground itself. And once a body is interred in the shallow, reluctantly yielded soil, the permafrost performs its final act of preservation. It holds the departed in a state of suspended animation, slowing decay to a near halt. This physical reality resonates deeply with spiritual beliefs that see the soul's journey as a slow transition, a gradual release rather than an instant departure. The land does not let go easily of anything, not of heat, not of buildings, not of the bodies of those who have lived upon it. This creates a tangible, continuous connection to ancestry that is rare in the modern world. The past is not buried deep. It is held close to the surface, in the very frost that lines every foundation and fringes every window. Within the walls of the apartments, a distinct domestic science has evolved. Humidity is a constant enemy, as the extreme temperature differential between inside and outside causes condensation to form with relentless efficiency. What if the hustle of restoration ice? Every home has its arsenal of dehumidifiers and the ritual of wiping down windowsills each morning. To clear pools of melted frost is as routine as brushing teeth. Houseplants are chosen not just for beauty, but for their ability to thrive in dry air. The balcony, that universal appendage of Russian apartments, is not a summer lounging space, but a giant, natural freezer. It is stacked with boxes of pelmeni, dumplings, cuts of meat, whole fish, jars of berries and milk, a year's worth of provisions, perfectly preserved at no cost. Opening the balcony door in winter is like opening the door to a walk-in freezer. A shock of cold air used to quickly chill a soup or set a dessert. This blurring of the line between home and larder, between living space and survival storage, creates a unique domestic landscape where practicality and coziness are inextricably linked. The thick carpets on the floors and heavy curtains on the windows are not merely decorative. They are essential thermal layers, trapping precious warm air and creating a sense of enveloping security against the vast chill beyond the wall. The children of Yakutsk grow up with a set of senses calibrated to their environment. They can distinguish between the harmless, playful cold of -20 and the serious, still cold of -45 by the way it feels on the exposed sliver of skin between mitten and coat sleeve. They know the sound of safe ice versus thin ice, not from lectures, but from the subtle, hollow thunk versus the solid crack under their boot during a walk on the frozen Lena. Their games adapt to the seasons with a fluid inventiveness. Winter sees them building elaborate forts in the snowbanks, tunnels, and caverns that are surprisingly warm inside, insulated by the very snow that defines their world. They slide down mountains of plowed snow on pieces of cardboard, their laughter creating clouds of vapor in the still air. In summer, the same wide, empty spaces become football pitches, rollerblading rinks, and open-air gathering spots, where they revel in the impossible luxury of wearing t-shirts until late into the luminous night. They are bilingual not only in Russian and Sakha, but in the languages of extreme climates. They understand, from a very young age, the concept of community responsibility. A school project might involve knitting socks for an elderly neighbor, or shoveling the shared courtyard, not as a chore, but as a necessary collective action for the mobility of all. This early, ingrained understanding of interdependence shapes a character that is both fiercely independent, capable of self-reliance, and deeply communal, knowing that true independence is a collective illusion in face of the elements. The economy of Yakutsk is a fascinating paradox of scarcity and immense hidden wealth. The staggering cost of imported goods exists alongside the republic's status as a geological treasure chest. Sakha produces almost all of Russia's diamonds, from the monumental mines of Mirny and Udatny. It holds vast reserves of gold, tin, coal, and natural gas. The revenue from these resources flows through the capital, Yakutsk, funding the universities, the modern glass-fronted government buildings, and the subsidies that keep heating and electricity from becoming completely unaffordable. Yet, this wealth often feels abstract, filtered through distant corporations and federal budget. The real, tangible economy is one of grit and ingenuity. The taxi driver, who is also a skilled mechanic, able to resurrect a frozen engine. The teacher who spends her summers gathering and selling berries to supplement her income. There is also a vibrant shadow economy born of isolation. The trader who manages to get a shipment of Korean cosmetics or Turkish textiles. The fixer who can secure a spot on a cargo flight for a crucial machine part. This system operates on trust and personal connection, a barter economy of favors and obligations that is as vital as the official ruble-based one. Is an economy where social capital, your family's reputation, your personal network, your word, is a currency as hard and valuable as a diamond. Art and expression here are inevitably infused with the landscape. Saka music, centered on the haunting, rhythmic vibrations of the komas, shawl harp, is said to imitate the sounds of the natural world, the wind through the larches, the creak of ice, the heartbeat. The melodies are often circular, repetitive, meditative, mirroring the long, cyclical nature of the season. Visual art is dominated by motifs of the sun, a constant object of longing and veneration. Intricate silver relief features solar discs, radiating patterns, and nice representations of the pole star, a fixed point in the swirling Arctic sky. Even contemporary artists working in digital media or modern sculpture find themselves drawn to themes of preservation, memory, and the tension between fragility and permanence, all direct reflections of life on the permafrost. Literature, too, grapples with the environment. The works of Saka writers are steeped in a sense of place, so powerful it becomes a character in itself. The cold is not a backdrop, it is an actor with its own motives, its own moods, its own agency. Stories tell of hunters who lose themselves not because they are foolish, but because the cold itself decided to hide the path, or of love that perseveres by becoming as patient and deep as the frozen river. This artistic output is a crucial form of sense-making, a way for the people to process, understand, and ultimately celebrate the unique and demanding reality of their home. As the world changes, Yakutsk finds itself in a strange new position. As a sentinel, scientists from across the globe now flock to the region, not for its diamonds, but for its thawing ground. Research stations dot the landscape, monitoring greenhouse gas emissions from the melting tundra, studying the rate of permafrost degradation, documenting the ecological shift. The people of Yakutsk, long accustomed to being overlooked as dwellers in a remote frozen corner, are now at the forefront of the planet's most pressing crisis. Their traditional knowledge of ice, weather patterns, and animal behavior is being sought by climatologists to cross-reference with satellite data and models. This has sparked a quiet pride, but also a profound ambivalence. They are being seen by the world for the catastrophe unfolding beneath their feet, rather than for the vibrant, resilient civilization they have built atop it for centuries. It creates a complex duality. They are both victims of a global phenomenon they did little to cause, and essential guides to understanding it. They hold a wisdom that the warming world desperately needs, a wisdom about endurance, about community, about living within limits, about living through the subtle cues of a fragile environment. In their very struggle to adapt to the changing frost, they are writing a masterclass in human adaptation for us all. So, as you drift now, let your mind settle on this image of sentinel stillness. Picture a lone researcher, bundled against the cold, kneeling on the tundra not to take, but to listen to the faint hiss of gas from the soil, to the whisper of the changing wind. Picture an elder in a village, looking at the same landscape, reading a different set of signs, understanding the shift in the language of spirits and animal tracks. Both are seeking truth in the same vast, quiet expanse. This is Yakutsk today, a bridge between ancient wisdom and urgent science, between a past of glorious survival and a future of uncertain fall. Its story is no longer just a tale of ice and endurance. It is a prophecy, a warning, and a testament, all whispered on the freezing air. And as you rest, let the steady, patient resilience of that place become your own. Feel your breath, a warm, constant rhythm in the cool, dark room. Feel your heartbeat, a persistent, quiet pulse. You too are a place of warmth in a vastness. You too endure. Let that knowledge be as comforting as a fur-lined hood, as solid as the deep, sleeping earth. Allow yourself to sink into the profound peace of simply being, of persisting, of resting deeply and fully, held safe in the quiet certainty of the night. The story continues, but for now, your part is to dream within it. The very language of the Saka people holds the cold within its grammar, a linguistic permafrost that shapes thought. There are countless words for snow and ice, each describing not just a state, but a behavior, a threat, a utility. Kar is the general snow, but Timir is the hard, wind-packed crust that can cut a reindeer's leg. Mustak is the dangerous, fluffy snow that hides voids and traps the unwary. Bulus is the life-giving meltwater of spring, but also the destructive flood. The language does not have a simple word for frostbite. Instead, it describes the process. Taiyeriata, the taking by the frost, a phrase that implies an active, predatory force. This precise vocabulary is a survival tool, a way of thinking that forces constant, conscious engagement with the environment. To speak Saka is to continually acknowledge the agency of the cold. Even modern conversations in Russian are peppered with these Saka terms, for no other language captures the nuances so perfectly. Alil, this creates a cognitive world where nature is never passive, never a mere setting. It is a continuous dialogue, a negotiation conducted in a tongue that remembers every storm, every subtle shift in the wind's intent. Food, beyond mere sustenance, is a daily reaffirmation of this relationship with the land. The act of eating straganina is not just consumption. It is a ritual of trust and freshness. The fish, frozen solid within minutes of being pulled from the Lena's icy water, carries within its delicate, shaved curls the pure, clean essence of the river itself. To eat it is to ingest the vitality of the frozen water. Similarly, the consumption of frozen raw liver, khan, is often done with a sprinkle of salt and a shot of vodka, a burst of intense, primal energy that feels like swallowing a spark of life itself. A direct transfusion from meals are communal anchors. Well, the process of preparing salat, a rich, layered salad of preserved meats, onions, and mayonnaise, or the slow simmering of a reindeer stew, fills the apartment with humid, savory warmth that fights the dryness of the heat. The kitchen becomes the heart of the home, a place where the stored bounty of summer, the pickled mushrooms, the jarred blueberries, the dried fish, is transformed into tangible warmth and connection. Every meal is a celebration of having prepared, of having foreseen the long winter, and of the community that shares the fruits of that labor. The architecture of private life extends to the body itself. There is a specific posture to walking in deep cold. A slight forward lean, shoulders hunched, not against wind, but to present a smaller surface area to the leaching chill. Breathing is done through the nose, never the mouth, to warm the air before it hits the lung. Blinking becomes more frequent to keep the eyes from drying out in the arid freeze. People develop a particular gait on ice, a smooth, shuffling step that minimizes the risk of a catastrophic slip, a dance learned from toddlerhood. These are not conscious actions, but embodied knowledge, a set of physical algorithms written into muscle memory by 1,000 generations. This knowledge creates a unique somatic identity, a way of inhabiting a body that is always in a state of conscious conservation, of guarded energy. In summer, the transformation is profound. Bodies unlock. The shuffling gait becomes a long stride or a run. People stand upright, faces turn to the sun like flowers, soaking in the light physically, almost drinking it through their skin. The contrast is not just environmental, but physiological. It feels like becoming a different species for a few glorious weeks. The city's relationship with technology is a love-hate saga of dependency and betrayal. The internet, a fragile thread via satellite and undersea cables, is the modern Zimnik, the mental ice road connecting Yakutsk to the global conversation. It allows a university student to attend a lecture in St. Petersburg virtually, a musician to share Comus music with the world, a mother to video call a son who has moved to Moscow for work. Yet, this connection is tenuous. Severe cold can affect satellite signals. Magnetic storms from the nearby pole disrupt communications. The infrastructure is as vulnerable as the heating pipes. This makes the digital world both a lifeline and a source of frustration. A reminder that even in the information age, geography and physics still rule. Conversely, some of the most reliable technology is the oldest. The chum, the traditional reindeer skin tent of the nomadic Evni and Evans peoples, is a masterpiece of efficient heating and insulation, its design perfected over millennia. Snowmobiles may have replaced sleds for many, but the principles of traveling light, of reading snow conditions, of navigating by the stars and wind, remain unchanged. The most advanced survival suit is still judged against the standard of well-made reindeer fur. In Yakutsk, progress is not a linear march forward, but a selective integration where new tools are adopted only if they prove themselves worthy against the timeless, unforgiving standards of the cold. This selective integration shapes education as well. School children learn the standard Russian curriculum, but their reality infuses every subject. Physics lessons involve practical experiments on thermal conductivity, using blocks of ice from the playground. Biology class might involve a field trip to study the unique flora of the thermokarst lakes. History is not an abstract tale of tsars and revolutions, but is told alongside the local history of clan movements, of the legendary first ancestor, Eli Buter. There is a strong emphasis on practical skills. Many schools have workshops where teenagers learn basic mechanics, sewing and carpentry, not as hobbies, but as essential life skills for a place where professional help might be days away and exorbitantly University education in Yakutsk, particularly at the Northeastern Federal University, has world-leading departments in permafrost studies, diamond mining engineering, and ethnography of northern peoples. Students here are not just learning about the world. They are learning to be the experts of their own unique corner of it, armed with both scientific methodology and the deep, place-based knowledge of their elders. The spiritual life of the city is a quiet, persistent undercurrent. While many are nominally Russian Orthodox, the older beliefs in the spirit world, Ikhila, coexist seamlessly. It is not uncommon for a person to attend a Christian church service and later, at a family gathering, make a small offering of food to the fire. The fire, what, is considered a sacred being, a pure spirit, and the mediator between humans and the upper world. You must never throw trash into a fire, never argue before it, and always feed it the first and best morsel of a meal. This animism extends to the home itself. The threshold of a Saka home is a significant boundary, and there are rituals for entering to prevent bringing in negative energy or cold spirit. These practices are not considered superstition by those who observe them. They are a technology of harmony, a set of protocols for maintaining good relations with the In a world where a single mistake can have fatal consequences, these rituals provide a framework for mindfulness, for paying attention, for acknowledging that humans are not the only actors on this vast frozen stage. They cultivate a state of respectful awareness that is, in itself, a powerful survival skill. As the night deepens around you, and the story of Yakutsk unfolds in its intricate, continuous detail, let this feeling of mindful awareness become your own. Notice the weight of your blanket, not as a burden, but as a gentle, insulating layer of comfort. Notice the rhythm of your breathing, a soft, steady exchange with the quiet air of your room. You are practicing your own form of ichi, attending to the spirit of your own peace, your own rest. The immense patient struggle of that far-off city is not a call to tension, but a profound lesson in the power of gradual, persistent calm. They have built a world not by fighting the cold, but by learning its rules, by moving with its rhythms, by finding warmth in the deepest crevices of community and culture. Your journey to sleep can be the same, but do not fight the wakeful thoughts. Let them be. Acknowledge them like passing spirits on the wind, and let them drift on by. Your only task is to lie here, warm and still, allowing the cumulative weight of this story, of frozen rivers and summer sun, of diamond mines and mammoth tusks, of whispered prayers to the fire and the roaring silence of the taiga, to settle over. Here's everything, muffles the sharp edges of the day, and brings a profound uniform. You are safe within it. You are held. The world of Yakutsk endures, and in its enduring, it gives you permission to simply be, to rest, to let go completely. The cold is outside. Well then, here, there is only warmth and breath, and the slow, graceful descent into a sleep as deep and peaceful as the permafrost, and as renewing as the first golden light of the Yakutsk summer dawn. The fabric of society in Yakutsk is woven with threads of silent understanding, of codes and courtesies born directly from the landscape. For instance, there is an unspoken rule about eye contact. On the street, in the deep cold, with faces mostly covered, a meeting of eyes carries significant weight. It is a full, acknowledging glance, a momentary connection that says, I see you here, enduring this with me. It is never a blank stare past someone. That would be a profound dismissal of a shared humanity in the face of the impersonal vastness. In the tight, warm space of a bus, steaming windows obscuring the outside world, there is a different code. Conversation with strangers is common, almost expected. The shared experience of the journey, the relief of being in a heated space, breaks down barriers. People might offer a spare clementine, a precious imported fruit, to a child, or share news of a road closure. This creates a transient, mobile community, a pocket of collective warmth, moving through the white silence. Hospitality, when invited into a home, is absolute. To refuse food or drink is unthinkable, an insult to the effort taken to provide it in this place of scarcity. The host will press upon you more oledi pancakes, more tea, more kurdak stew, not merely out of politeness, but from a deep-seated imperative to ensure that no one leaves their hearth less than fully fortified against the world outside. This generosity is a social safety net, a recognition that today's host could be tomorrow's vulnerable guest, and that survival is a collective enterprise. The landscape itself is a living library, and its librarians are the hunters, fishermen, and elders. A hunter reading tracks in the snow sees not just prints but a narrative. The speed of the sable, the hesitation where it listened for unlistened but crossed, the direction of the wind at that moment based on how the snow is drifted into the track. An elder looking at the texture of the ice on a lake can predict its thickness and safety for weeks to come. The bending of a large tree in a particular way indicates a prevailing wind pattern that signals a coming shift in pressure. This knowledge is not written in books, but in the body and in stories passed down. It is a science of observation, a cumulative dataset gathered over millennia, and it is dying with each generation that moves to the city or finds its attention captured by screens. The tragedy of the thaw is not just physical, it is the erosion of this immense, silent library before it can be fully translated. Scientists with sensors and satellites now rush to quantify what the elders have always known qualitatively. A frantic race against the dual clocks of climate change and cultural law. Within the city, the contrasts of the 21st century are painted in stark relief. Gleaming, glass-fronted shopping centers, selling luxury goods from Europe and Asia at astronomical markups, exist alongside Soviet-era apartment blocks, with their crumbling concrete and eternally dripping entrances. A sleek black German sedan, its owner paying a fortune to keep it in a heated garage, might navigate around a horse-drawn sleigh carrying blocks of ice cut from the Lena for a traditional ice cellar. Teenagers in the latest Sol streetwear huddle in a cafe, sharing a single drink to save money, their phones charging in the outlet, while at the next table, pensioners in well-worn sweaters play dominoes for hours, nursing cups of tea. The city does not reconcile these contrasts. It simply contains them, allowing the ultra-modern and the archaic to occupy the same space, both valid responses to the same underlying conditions. This creates a fascinating cultural fluidity. A young professional might work all day in a corporate office using perfect English and international finance jargon, and in the evening attend a family ceremony where they don traditional dress and participate in a centuries-old song to honor the spirits of the ancestors. There is no sense of contradiction, only a seamless shifting between layers of identity, all of them authentically Yakutsk. The emotional landscape, too, is shaped by the freeze and thaw. There is a recognized introspection that comes with the long winter, a turning inward that can foster great creativity, deep thought, and strong family bonds, but can also tip into a heavy solitude. The summer, then, is a necessary explosion of extroversion, a time for weddings, festivals, and massive outdoor gatherings where the pent-up social energy of months is released in a joyous, noisy cascade. The annual Yakutsk festival, celebrating the summer solstice, is the pinnacle of this. It is a breathtaking spectacle of cultural revival. People in magnificent traditional costumes of beaded velvet and fur gather in a vast open field. There are rituals thanking the sun and the spirits, colossal cauldrons of kummies, horse racing, wrestling, and around dances that seem to include the entire population. It is more than a festival. It is a vital act of collective reaffirmation, a declaration that the people and their culture are not just surviving, but thriving, bursting forth with the same explosive vitality as the summer greenery. To experience Yayak is to understand that the solemn patience of winter is only one half of the Saka soul. The other half is this exuberant, grateful, and defiant celebration of light and love. And so the story of Yakutsk continues, an endless, seamless tapestry being woven in real time. It is the hum of the data server farm, newly built and heavily cooled by the outside air, sitting beside the whisper of an elder's prayer to the spirit of the computer, so it does not break. It is the grim news of another apartment building being condemned due to permafrost shift, and the joyful chatter from a new experimental greenhouse where cucumbers are grown using geothermal heat from deep wells. It is the anxiety of the parent watching their gifted child leave for university in St. Petersburg, knowing they may never return, and the pride of that same child presenting groundbreaking research on Arctic geology to a global company. The city pulses with this double rhythm, the slow, patient, enduring beat of the permafrost age, and the quick, anxious, innovative beat of the Anthropocene. It is a place where every single action, from starting a car to building a skyscraper, is a conscious negotiation with the absolute limits of the physical world. This constant negotiation breeds a profound realism, a lack of illusion, but also an incredible creativity born of sheer necessity. The people of Yakutsk have looked into the heart of the cold for centuries and have not looked away. Instead, they have learned to see within it patterns, opportunities, and a stark, fierce beauty. They have built a civilization not in a fertile valley or on a benign coast, but on a premise of ice, and in doing so, they have created something unique in human history. The narrative has no end, only this continuous, resilient unfolding, a testament to life's stubborn, brilliant flame burning steadily in the deepest cold. The soundscape of Yakutsk is a symphony of temperature. In the deep of winter, when the mercury plunges past -50, the air itself seems to contract, tightening into a medium that carries sound with unnatural, brittle clarity. A car door shutting on a distant street arrives at your ear as a precise, metallic snap. The crunch of a boot on snow is a high-pitched squeak, each crystal of snow shattering with a tiny, glassy report. Conversations from across a wide boulevard are perfectly intelligible, carried on the frozen, motionless air as if by wires. Yet, beneath this hyper-clarity lies a profound, enveloping silence, a bass note of absence, the rustle of leaves, the buzz of insects, the drip of water, all the white noise of a living biome, are utterly absent for months on end. This silence is not empty. It is a presence, a heavy velvety quiet that presses gently on the eardrums. Then, cutting through it, come the monumental sounds of the cold itself. Sudden gunshot crack of a tree, trunk splitting as its sap freezes and expands. In summer, the symphony transforms into a cacophony of life. The silence shatters into a million pieces. The air fills with the drone of mosquitoes in thick, humming clouds, the chirp of crickets that seem to celebrate their brief week of existence, the squawk of waterfowl on the Lena, the laughter of children playing outside at mid, the sound of rain on roofs, a rare and cherished percussion, and the constant liquid gurgle of meltwater rushing through the streets. To live here is to have your auditory world completely remade twice a year, your very hearing acclimatizing to the season's dominant frequency. The concept of neighbor extends far beyond the apartment next door. In a Yakutsk apartment block, your neighbors are part of your survival ecosystem. You know the sound of their heating pipes, and a sudden silence from their apartment in winter could signal a dangerous failure. The babushka on the third floor has a key to your flat to water the plants if you are away, and to ensure the pipes don't freeze. The man downstairs is a mechanic who can jury-rig a part for your failing boiler in the middle of the night. The children across the hall are your emergency contacts if you slip on the ice. This creates a web of mutual surveillance that is not oppressive but comforting. A lattice of quiet, watchful care. Disputes are resolved quickly and internally, for letting a conflict fester could weaken the structural integrity of this small self-contained community. Christmas and New Year are not just family holidays, but building-wide events, with shared feasts in the stairwells and gifts left anonymously at doors. For those who are struggling, the apartment block becomes a village, a microcosm of the larger city's interdependence, its own heated arc in the frozen world. The night sky, for much of the year, is not a minor feature, but a dominant, breathtaking spectacle, freed from light pollution by the vast emptiness surrounding the city and clarified by the dry, freezing air. The stars do not twinkle. They burn with a fierce, steady, icy brilliance. The Milky Way is a thick, luminous river of diamond dust arching across the black vault. In the depths of winter, the aurora borealis, Ka, the sky fire, is a regular performer. It is not always the frantic green dance of postcards. Sometimes it is a slow, majestic curtain of violet and rose, silently unfurling and retreating. Other times it is a corona directly overhead, a silent, celestial heartbeat. The people have many stories about the lights, that they are the spirits of ancestors playing a game with a walrus skull, or the breath of the Arctic fox running across the snow and scattering sparks into the sky. Regardless of the science, to stand beneath them in the utter silence of a 40-degree C night is to feel a profound, humbling connection to the cosmos, a reminder of the magnificent scale of the universe, within which this small, stubborn human outpost persists. This celestial spectacle provides a spiritual counterweight to the immense terrestrial challenge of the earth below, lifting the gaze from the difficult ground to the glorious, indifferent heavens. Time is also measured in the slow accumulation of tiny, personal victories against the cold. The successful repair of a drafty window with a custom-cut strip of felt and silicone is a cause for quiet satisfaction that lasts all winter. The first jar of cloudberry jam sealed in August is a promise of summer tasted in January. The moment a child finally masters the intricate lacing of their own auntie boots is a developmental milestone as significant as learning to read. Life is punctuated not by the abstractions of career promotions or purchased acquisitions, but by these concrete achievements of maintenance, preparation, and skill acquisition. This cultivates a profound sense of competence and self-reliance, a knowledge that you are not helpless against the elements, that you possess a toolkit, both physical and mental, to meet the demands of your world. This tangible agency is a powerful antidote to the modern sense of abstraction and helplessness. Here, your actions have immediate, visible consequences for your comfort and safety. You are an active participant in your own survival, and that participation is deeply, fundamentally satisfying. And so, the story of Yakutsk is not a saga with a beginning, a middle, and an end. It is an open-ended narrative of adaptation, a continuous, collective work in progress written in ice and thaw, in silence and sudden summer laughter, in the creak of a building on its piles and the hum of a server farm, cooled by the very air that once threatened all technology. It is a story that asks the most fundamental human questions about community, resilience, and the meaning of home, and answers them, but with the daily, unbroken rhythm of life lived at the very edge of the possible. It is a testament written in frost on a window pane, in the pattern of stitches on a fur mitten, in the data stream from a permafrost sensor, and in the enduring lines of an Alonco epic recited in a warm kitchen, while the endless night. The cold is the given, the constant, the warm, in all its forms, is the magnificent, fragile, relentless human achievement. The relationship with animals in Yakutsk is one of profound, unsentimental partnership. The Yakutian horse, a shaggy, stocky breed with a thick winter coat that seems to defy physics, is more than livestock. It is a cultural linchpin. It survives the winter by foraging through snow for frozen grass, a feat of hardiness that mirrors the human condition. Its meat is a staple, its milk the source of the sacred kamis, its hide used for clothing and shelter. The bond is one of absolute respect, but it is the respect of a soldier for a trusted comrade in a difficult campaign, not the doting affection of a pet owner. Similarly, the reindeer for the northern nomads is life itself, transport, clothing, food, and a spiritual guide. In the city, this translates to a practical, ingrained knowledge of animal behavior as a weather gauge. People note the extra thick fluff under a street dog's belly as a sign of a harsh winter to come, or the particular restless behavior of horses before a sudden drop in temperature. Animals are seen as embedded participants in the same struggle, their bodies and instincts fine-tuned to the same extreme environment, and thus worthy of keen observation and implicit trust as living barometers and early warning systems. The texture of memory itself is conditioned by the cold. Childhood memories are not dated by years, but by winters. The winter the coal truck got stuck for a week on our street. The winter of the great hoarfrost, when every twig was coated 3 inches thick and the world looked like glass. The winter was so cold, the school closed for a week. These events are collective landmarks, more vivid than any birthday party. Even summer memories are defined by their contrast. The summer we swam in the Lena every day because the heat was so fierce. The summer the blueberries were so plentiful, they stained our hands for a month. This mnemonic system, anchored to environmental extremes, creates a personal history that is inextricably woven into the physical history of the place. Your biography is a climate record. This breeds a deep, somatic nostalgia. The longing for the specific, bone-deep feeling of a particular kind of cold, or the remembered sensation of the midnight sun on your face after months of twilight. It is a homesickness not just for people or places, but for specific physical states of being in the world. The very idea of waste is alien here in its conventional form. Everything has a secondary, tertiary purpose. An old car battery becomes a weight for anchoring a tarp over firewood. Glass jars are never discarded. They are the circulatory system of summer's bounty, filled and refilled with preserves, pickles, and fermented dairy. Worn-out felt boots are cut up to insulate doghouses or line the trunks of cars. Food scraps are not thrown away, but collected, often frozen, to be eventually given to a friend with a dog or a backyard chicken coop, or buried in a summer compost heap to become next year's soil for the tiny, cherished greenhouse tomato plants. This is not born from an abstract environmentalism, but from a centuries-deep knowledge of scarcity and the sheer logistical difficulty of importing or exporting anything. The economy is profoundly circular by necessity, a lesson in sustainability forged not by ideology, but by relentless geography. The city itself is a monument to recycling, where Soviet-era industrial parts are repurposed to patch heating systems, and shipping containers from the summer barges are transformed into storage units, or even makeshift shop fronts. The psychological landscape holds a unique concept of courage. It is not the dramatic, explosive bravery of action heroes, but the quiet, daily courage of maintenance. It is the courage to go out at midnight to restart the apartment block's generator during a power cut, when the darkness is not just dark, but actively, lethally cold. It is the courage of the bus driver navigating the icy road to a distant village, knowing there are people relying on that delivery of mail and medicine. It is the courage of the mother who, after a long day of work, spends an hour bundling her children for a necessary trip to the pharmacy, her own exhaustion secondary to the meticulous ritual of their protection. This courage is uncelebrated, woven into the fabric of the ordinary. It is a courage of consistency, of showing up, of performing the 1,000 small vital tasks that keep the entire delicate system from unraveling. It is perhaps the most pervasive and essential form of bravery in Yakutsk, and it is found in every pair of hands that chops wood, checks a pipe, or carefully drives on black ice. As the world's climate shifts, Yakutsk finds itself an unwilling oracle. The changes are not future predictions. They are current events written in the collapsing riverbank and the strange new beetle in the larch forest. The people here are living the data points that other nations debate in abstract accord. This has forged a weary, pragmatic wisdom in the public discourse. There is little time for climate change denial or political obfuscation. When your front door is sticking because the frame is warping from the thawing ground, the conversation is instead intensely practical. How do we retrofit this building? Can we engineer new kinds of piles? What traditional knowledge about water management can we revive? This positions the citizens of Yakutsk not as victims pleading for help, but as frontline engineers in a global project of adaptation. They are developing a lexicon of resilience that the rest of the world will eventually need. Their experiments in living, from ancient ice cellar designs to cutting-edge geothermal heating, are becoming a crucial source of innovation for a warming planet. In a profound irony, a city built on eternal frost is becoming a hotbed of practical knowledge for human survival on a changing Earth. The story, therefore, flows on like the Lena, sometimes frozen solid and silent, sometimes turbulent and loud with meltwater. It is in the hands of the researcher in her lab, correlating satellite imagery with an elder's memory of where the berry patches used to be. It is in the rhythm of the blacksmith's hammer, forging a new tool from old steel. It is in the silent, nightly vigil of a parent checking the bedroom thermostat. It is a narrative without a finale, because the central challenge, the negotiation between human warmth and planetary cold, is eternal and ongoing. Yakutsk stands as a proof of concept, a living document that demonstrates a civilization can not only exist, but create beauty, meaning, and profound community under the most stringent conditions imaginable. Its ultimate lesson is not about surviving the cold, but about how the very act of surviving it together forges a humanity that is deeply attentive, resilient, creatively pragmatic, and intimately connected to the palpable reality of the world. The city whispers this lesson on the freezing wind, sings it in the summer alonco, and builds it pile by careful pile into the very ground upon which it stands. The governance of Yakutsk is an exercise in a unique, cold-forged pragmatism, where municipal policy is often indistinguishable from disaster management. The mayor's office must think not in terms of years, but in seasonal windows of possibility. The entire city operates on a master schedule dictated by the thermometer. Street repairs? Holiday. That's a 3-week frenzy in July, when the asphalt plants can operate and the ground is firm enough to support machinery. Major delivery of construction materials. Those must arrive by barge during the high water period of the Lena in August, or sit waiting for the winter ice road. The budget is perpetually strained by a single colossal line item: energy. The cost of generating and distributing enough heat to prevent the city's very water from freezing in its pipes is astronomical. A financial burden as heavy as the winter darkness. This forces a brutal prioritization. A new cultural center might be deferred for a decade in favor of replacing a crumbling section of the Ulitter Main, because one promises enrichment while the other promises survival. This constant triage breeds a political culture that is often blunt, utilitarian, and refreshingly free of ideological posturing. A politician's worth is measured not by eloquent speeches, but by their ability to secure federal subsidies for heating oil, or to successfully lobby for an extra air bridge during the spring Rasputitsa. The cold is the ultimate political opponent, and every administration, regardless of its stated platform, is judged on its performance in that eternal struggle. Beneath the functional city lies a hidden parallel city, the world of the podpole, the underground, not a metaphorical underworld, but a literal one. In a place where digging deep basements is impossible due to permafrost, the city has grown a network of shallow underground passages, service tunnels, and semi-basements that connect many of the older buildings. These spaces, heated by the bleeding warmth from the pipes that run through them, are a mysterious, humid underworld. They house boiler rooms manned by grizzled Kottelstiki stokers, who are the unsung engineers of the city's warmth, men who can diagnose a failing pump by its sound, and who possess an intimate soot-stained map of the city's thermal veins. These tunnels also contain impromptu workshops, storage for pickles, and jams that need a cool, stable temperature, and sometimes illicit card games in the perpetual electric light. For urban children, these spaces are the stuff of legend and dare, a secret world beneath their feet, smelling of damp concrete, hot metal, and earth. This subterranean layer is a testament to the human instinct to burrow for shelter, even when the earth itself resists creating a warm, hidden intestine within the frozen body of the city. Communication in Yakutsk has evolved its own efficient poetry, daylight by, because speaking outside in deep cold can make your lips stick together or freeze the moisture in your throat. Communication becomes highly visual and gesture-based. A complex series of nods, hand waves, and eyebrow raises can convey, "My car won't start. Can you give me a jump?" Or, "The store is out of milk, but I have extra." In vehicles, a sophisticated language of headlight flashes and light taps on the horn has developed. One flash to warn of police ahead, two to indicate a major pothole, a specific pattern to signal that your heater has failed. This nonverbal lexicon is efficient and universal within the city, a code born of shared necessity. When words are used, they are often economical and direct. The famous Russian verb terpet, to endure, takes on a specific active quality here. It does not mean passive suffering, but an active, persistent bearing, a conscious choice to continue. The phrase "Koloda ne boyatsya, koloda uvajayot," one does not fear the cold, one respects it, is less a motto and more a fundamental operating principle, repeated to children as they learn to dress themselves. This linguistic efficiency extends to storytelling itself. Jokes are often short, dark, and punchy, delivering their warmth like a sudden shot of vodka. Long, ornate tales are reserved for the warm interior, for the olonko, where time expands to fill the space of the night. The arrival of any outsider, or preachy, is a subtle but significant event. The community has a finely tuned radar for newcomers, able to spot them not by their clothes, which are quickly borrowed or bought, but by their behavior. The hesitant, unsure step on the ice, the way they gasp too sharply on. The reaction is not mockery, but a quiet collective mobilization. Strangers will offer unsolicited advice on the best brand of thermal underwear, or a babushka on a bus will wordlessly reach over and adjust the scarf of a young woman from tucking in a critical gap. The integration of a newcomer is a community project. They are taught how to winterize their apartment windows with special tape, where to find the most reliable mechanic, which market stall has the best frozen fish. This process is not merely kindness. It is a systemic immune response. Poorly prepared outsiders are a risk to themselves and potentially to others if they require an emergency rescue in a blizzard. Therefore, the city works instinctively to assimilate them, to upgrade their software to the local operating system for the stability of the whole. To be accepted in Yakutsk is to have proven your competence in the basic arts of survival, a graduation that is acknowledged not with ceremony, but with the subtle shift from being given advice to being asked for it. The creative arts are not a separate sphere, but are deeply integrated into the mechanics of life. A beautifully embroidered pair of mittens is not just art. Its tight, complex stitches provide better insulation. The intricate pattern, welded onto a stovepipe, is not mere decoration. It strengthens the metal against thermal stress. The haunting melodies of the komas are said to have therapeutic qualities, their vibrations capable of relieving the winter headache caused by pressure changes. Even the vibrant colors of the buildings, the sunflower yellows, sky blues, and grass greens, are a form of light therapy, a visual antidote to the months of white and gray, chosen deliberately to stimulate the mind and ward off depressive lethargy. Thus, aesthetics and utility are inseparable. Beauty is not a luxury. It is a functional component of resilience, a tool for maintaining psychological and physical well-being. An artist here is not seen as a creator of optional things, but as a specialist in human sustenance, working in the medium of morale. As the narrative of Yakutsk unfolds through the endless cycle, it becomes clear that the city is conducting a grand, continuous experiment in human ecology. It is asking, what is the minimum thermal threshold for a complex modern society? How does culture mutate and strengthen under constant environmental pressure? Can a deep spiritual relationship with nature be maintained in an urban, technological setting? The answers are written in the layered frost on the power lines, in the shared silence of a bus full of people enduring the same cold, in the explosive joy of the Yayak festival under the midnight sun. The experiment has no control group. Every life here is a data point, and the emerging result is a stunningly robust model of adaptation. It shows that human warmth is not a finite resource, but a renewable one, generated and amplified by proximity, shared struggle, and collective purpose. It demonstrates that technology, when humbled by and integrated with traditional wisdom, can create not alienation, but a stronger foothold. Yakutsk proves that a life of extreme constraint can, paradoxically, generate immense creative freedom, the freedom from superfluous choice, the freedom to focus on what is fundamentally, unequivocally essential: warmth, food. The city, in its stark, beautiful, demanding way, offers a quiet manifesto for a different kind of human future. One built not on the endless expansion of consumption, but on the deep, intelligent, and fiercely communal art of maintenance. Is a future being written now, in the longest night and the shortest summer, on the edge of the world, where every breath is a visible testament to the persistent, stubborn, and the concept of time stretches and condenses in Yakutsk in ways that defy clocks and calendars. There is outside time and inside time. Outside time, in winter, is a demanding, accelerated currency. Tasks must be completed with swift economic movements. A 5-minute errand poorly planned can become a 30-minute ordeal of redressing and defrosting a car. Minutes outside have a tangible weight, counted in expended calories and exposed skin. Conversely, inside time becomes expansive, luxurious, and slow. An evening at home is not a few hours between work and sleep, but a vast protected space. It is a canvas for activities that require patience. The mending of clothes, the slow fermentation of yogurt, the detailed painting of a miniature, the learning of a complex song from a grandparent. This dilation of interior time fosters a culture of deep focus and craftsmanship. It is not uncommon to meet someone who has spent a decade perfecting the art of carving mammoth ivory, or a family that has cultivated the same sourdough starter for generations, tending it like a hearth-bound ancestor. This slow interior time is a sacred counterbalance to the frantic, precarious time of the external cold, a sanctuary where the soul and skills are tended with deliberate care. The sky is not merely a ceiling in Yakutsk. It is a central character, a mood ring for the continent. In winter, it can be a flat, lifeless white for weeks, a phenomenon called moloko, milk, where the sky and ground blur into a dimensionless void, causing disorientation and a profound sense of isolation. Then, it can crack open to reveal that hard, brilliant, dark blue that seems colder than any white. The sunrise and sunset, when they occur, are not brief affairs, but prolonged, spectacular dramas of fiery orange and deep violet that paint the snow in impossible colors for an hour or more. In summer, the sky is an ever-changing theater of towering cumulus clouds that build over the taiga, promising the rare, precious rain, or stretching into a pale, endless canvas for the sun's circular journey. Pilots flying into Yakutsk speak of a unique, intuitive navigation they develop, reading the subtle textures of the snow below and the specific qualities of the light to anticipate wind, shear, and temperature. The people on the ground read it too. The specific pink tinge of a sunset can predict a drop to 50 degrees C, while a certain halo around the moon warns of a coming snowstorm. The sky is the ultimate news source, a daily broadcast in color and light that everyone is fluent in interpreting. The sensory experience of the cold is layered and complex, beyond mere numbness. At first, there is the sharp, clean shock, like menthol amplified 1,000 times. Then, if you are still, a strange deep silence seems to seep into your bones, a calm that is both peaceful and threatening. After prolonged exposure, a peculiar metallic taste blooms at the back of the tongue, the taste of the frozen air itself. The smell of winter is equally distinct, a crisp, almost antiseptic absence of smell, occasionally cut by the sweet, smoky scent of burning birch wood from a chimney, or the sharp tanging of diesel from a passing truck. Touch is transformed. Metal becomes adhesive. A bare hand foolishly touching a doorknob can lose a layer of skin. Plastic becomes brittle and can snap like a twig. Sound, as noted, is crystalline, but there is also a feeling of the air itself pressing in, a gentle but insistent pressure on every square inch of clothed body, as if the cold is a fluid seeking entry. To acclimate is not to stop feeling these things, but to move them into the background noise of consciousness, to develop a sensory filter that acknowledges the data without triggering alarm, a constant, low-level dialogue between the body and the atmosphere. The digital world, for all its globality, bends to local reality. Social media feeds from Yakutsk are a study in extreme juxtaposition. One post might be a stunning, professionally shot aurora time-lapse over the frozen Lena. The next, a frustrated, blurry photo of a burst pipe with a darkly humorous caption. In June, feeds explode with almost hysterical images of greenery, flowers, and people in shorts at midnight. Online shopping is an exercise in hope and patience. But delivery estimates are vague suggestions, contingent on the mood of the airlines and the state of the ice road. The phrase out of stock takes on a deeper meaning. It can mean not in the warehouse in Novosibirsk, or the barge carrying it is stuck in the ice. Yet, the internet also enables crucial microeconomies. A woman selling hand-knit socks from Yakutian wool can find customers in Norway and Canada who understand the value of her product. A musician can upload a Comas performance and find a collaborator in Japan. The internet becomes the city's long, thin, digital utility, a heated pipeline for culture, commerce, and connection that runs parallel to the physical ones, equally vulnerable to disruption but vital for maintaining a sense of being in the world, not just at the end of it. Within families, roles are defined by a quiet, thermodynamic efficiency. The person who is best at sealing windows is as valued as the primary breadwinner. The grandparent who remembers how to salt fish in the old way, ensuring it lasts through the winter without freezer burn, holds a position of practical reference. Children are given small, real responsibilities early, not just chores, but tasks with consequences. A 10-year-old might be entrusted with the nightly duty of checking the balcony door is fully sealed, because a draft there could freeze the pipes along the outer wall. This early endowment of real trust and real consequence builds a profound sense of capability and gravity. It also creates families that operate like skilled, interdependent crews, each member a specialist in a domain of domestic survival. Arguments are often pragmatic. You didn't tighten the valve on the radiator, and now the room is cold, carries the weight of a failed collective mission. Reconciliation is equally pragmatic, often involving joint action to fix the problem. The shared labor healing the rift more effectively than word. The very dreams of the people, some say, are tinted by the environment. In the deep winter, dreams are often reported to be vivid, surreal, and interior. Dreams of vast, warm labyrinths, of finding secret rooms in one's own home, of conversations with the departed who appear remarkable. In summer, dreams become expansive, filled with flying over endless green forests, of swimming in warm, light-dappled water, of abundance and social festivity. Psychologists might note the influence of seasonal affective disorder or the contrast in daily experience. But to the people, it feels as if the landscape itself is dreaming through them. The subconscious mind processing the external extremes into it. This idea that the land dreams its people fits seamlessly with the animist worldview, where the boundary between the inner self and the outer world is seen as permeable, a constant exchange of spirit and substance. Thus, the story of Yakutsk continues as a living dialectic, a conversation between the human and the elemental that is written in frost patterns, in the grain of worked wood, in lines of code for permafrost models, and in the silent understanding between. It is a story that challenges the very definition of comfort, positing that true comfort is not the absence of challenge, but the mastery of it. It redefines wealth, not as an accumulation of possessions, but as a deep reserve of skill, mutual obligation, and stored sustenance. It questions progress, asking whether it is measured in moving beyond nature, or in achieving a more sophisticated, sustainable harmony with its laws. Yakutsk has not chosen its place, but it has chosen its response. And in that relentless, creative, communal response, it has built something that is more than a city. It is a philosophy made of ice and wood and fur and steel, a working hypothesis about the future of human persistence on a planet whose rules are changing. It stands on its stilts as a quiet, fierce, and indispensable testament to the idea that even in the most demanding corner of the world, life does not merely persist, it insists with beauty, ingenuity, and the very ground beneath Yakutsk tells a story older than humanity, a chronicle written in layers of frozen silt, ancient pollen, and bones of extinct giants. Permafrost is not simply frozen dirt. It is a geological archive, a time capsule holding secrets of past climates, ecosystems, and atmospheres. When construction workers dig new foundation piles, they are amateur archaeologists, uncovering the tusks of mammoths, the antlers of giant elk, or even the frozen carcass of a prehistoric puppy, perfectly preserved with its fur and whiskers intact. These discoveries are not mere curiosities. They are profound encounters with deep time, reminding residents that their city is built upon a graveyard of Ice Age titans, that their present-day struggle with the cold is just the latest. This constant physical connection to the Pleistocene fosters a perspective that is both humbling and strangely reassuring. It underscores the transience of any single climate era and the incredible adaptability of life, themes that resonate deeply in an age of anthropogenic change. Permafrost is a teacher of patience on a millennial scale. Its slow, steady persistence a counterpoint to the frantic pace of modern life. The economy of warmth creates its own unique market dynamics. Warmth is a tradable commodity in ways unimaginable in temperate zones. A parking space in a heated garage is a premium asset, often costing more than the apartment it serves. The rights to a well-insulated south-facing apartment are passed down through families like a precious heirloom. There is a bustling trade in second-hand winter gear, but it is a market with strict unspoken quality controls. Selling substandard boots or a coat with a broken zipper is considered a deeply unethical act, bordering on injurement. Barter often revolves around services that conserve or generate heat. A mechanic might repair a neighbor's car in exchange for that neighbor's husband, a welder fixing their boiler. The most valued currency, however, is information, knowledge of which store just received a shipment of reliable Finnish thermal socks, which mechanic has a secret stash of anti-gel fuel additive, or which farmer on the outskirts will sell a whole frozen side horse meat for a fair price. This creates an economy that is intensely local, relational, and resistant to the abstractions of global finance, rooted in the immediate, physical reality of maintaining a livable temperature. The body's adaptation to the cold is a marvel of physiological subtlety. Newcomers often experience a constant low-level shiver, a draining sense of their core heat being siphoned away. Long-term residents exhibit a different metabolic calibration, but their bodies become more efficient at vasoconstriction, reducing blood flow to the extremities to preserve core temperature with less energy expenditure. They develop a layer of insulating fat more readily, a biological version of the pukovichka. Their lung capacity often increases slightly, better to extract oxygen from the dense, cold air. Perhaps most fascinating is the reported change in pain perception related to cold. The sharp, alarming pain of frostnip becomes a familiar signal, like a warning light on a dashboard, acknowledged and acted upon without panic. This is not numbness, but a refined sensitivity, a learned dialogue between nerve endings and conscious response. The body, over years, learns the grammar of the cold, becoming less a victim of it and more a fluent speaker of its language. This physiological integration is the ultimate testament to human plasticity, proof that we can evolve within a single lifetime to meet the demands of our environment. The city's relationship with water is a year-long epic of transformation. In winter, water is the enemy in its liquid form, a traitor that bursts pipes and glazes streets into lethal mirrors. It is then captured and tamed as snow, a manageable, shovable, insulating foe. In spring it becomes a terrifying, powerful force of chaos. The bullets carving new channels through streets, undermining foundations and demanding respect. By summer, it is a life-giving companion. The mighty Lena for transport and fishing, the countless lakes for swimming and watering livestock. In autumn, it is once again the subject of a frantic race as people rush to seal, insulate, and drain before it can turn against them once more. This cyclical relationship teaches a deep respect for the different states of matter, for the immense power hidden in the phase change between solid and liquid. Every child learns that water is not one thing, but many, each with its own personality and rules. This intimate experiential knowledge of a fundamental element shapes a worldview that is inherently fluid and adaptive. Understanding that the nature of anything, water, the ground, the climate itself, is not fixed, but subject to transformation. The night is not a mere absence of day in the Yakutsk winter. It is a different realm of experience. The darkness is so complete, so velvety and consuming, that it feels like a substance. Moving through it, even on familiar streets, becomes a journey of faith in memory and touch. The stars and moon, when visible, are not gentle illuminations, but fierce, cold spotlights that cast sharp, blue-black shadows on the snow. This profound darkness amplifies interiority. It turns the city into a constellation of isolated, glowing cubes. The windows of apartments, each a self-contained universe of light and warmth. The sense of community, therefore, is not always felt in crowded streets, but in the silent knowledge that all around you, in all those other glowing cubes, other people are also engaged in the same project of creation. The shared night becomes a communal space of separation, a paradox where isolation bonds everyone in a shared condition. It is a time for reading, for music, for intricate handicrafts, for the slow unraveling of thought. The long night forces a depth of engagement with the self and the immediate circle that the constant stimulus of a 24-hour sunlit world rarely allows. The future of Yakutsk hangs in a delicate balance between tradition and unprecedented transformation. The greatest threat is no longer the old, predictable cold, but the new, unpredictable thaw. Yet, within this crisis lies a seed of potential rebirth. The Republic is investing in becoming a global center for cold climate technology and permafrost science. Architects are experimenting with new, adaptive foundation designs that can adjust to shifting ground. Engineers are working on harnessing geothermal energy from deeper, unfrozen layers of the earth. There is a growing movement to digitally archive the oral histories, the language, and the ecological knowledge of the elders before it is lost. Young Saka entrepreneurs are building businesses around sustainable, ethical products from the region. Reindeer wool, wild berries, organic horse meat, marketed to a world increasingly interested in authenticity and resilience. The city is being forced to innovate at a breakneck pace, and in doing so, it is rediscovering and revaluing its own unique store of knowledge. The challenge is to navigate this transition without losing the soul of the place. That intricate, hard-won culture of community, patience, and respect for the limits of the natural world. The hope is to forge a new synthesis, where the wisdom of surviving the deepest cold informs the creation of a sustainable, thriving society on the softening permafrost. So the narrative flows onward, an epic without an end in sight. It is written in the daily act of breathing visible proof of life into the frozen air. It is recorded in the careful hands of a grandmother, teaching her granddaughter how to stitch a reindeer hide boot, a skill that has outlived empires. It is calculated in the algorithms of climate models run on supercomputers in a warm server room. It is celebrated in the first taste of a wild strawberry in July, a flavor so intensely sweet it is remembered all winter. Yakutsk is a living dialogue between humanity and extremity. It asks the most profound questions we can ask ourselves. What is truly necessary for a good life? What do we owe to each other? How do we find meaning not in spite of our limitations, but within them. The answers it provides are not given in words, but in the lived reality of a million daily choices. To help a stranger, to repair rather than replace, to store food for the winter, to tell a story in the dark, to walk with care. It is a story that insists that resilience is not a single heroic act, but a habit, a culture, a way of being woven into the fabric of everyday existence. And as long as a light burns in a window there, as long as a breath forms a cloud in the air, as long as a story is told against the silence, the experiment continues. A brilliant, fragile, and an enduring testament. The story of Yakutsk is, in its final essence, a story about the nature of warmth itself. Not the simple physical warmth of a fire, but the complex, cultivated warmth that exists between people, within traditions, and in the steadfast relationship with a formidable land. It demonstrates that the most profound warmth is not found in the absence of cold, but is forged in direct, continuous, and respectful opposition to it. This is a warmth that must be tended, shared, defended, and renewed with every season, making it more conscious, more precious, and more deeply felt than any taken for granted comfort. The city stands as a monument to this understanding. 1,000 small flames gathered together on the frozen plain, each one fragile alone, but collectively creating a beacon of human persistence that can be seen from the stars. As the cycle completes itself once more, as the fierce light of summer yields to the gathering twilight, as the first snows dust the still warm earth, and the great patient exhale of winter begins, the people of Yakutsk turn again to their ancient and modern tasks. They check their supplies, seal their windows, and ready their vehicles. They do so not with dread, but with the solemn focus of a musician tuning an instrument before a profound performance. The long night is not an intermission from life. It is the movement in the symphony where the deepest melodies are played. Here, in the reflective quiet, the bonds of family are strengthened over shared meals. The threads of culture are woven into stories and songs, and the quiet courage of daily maintenance is performed with a sense of purpose that connects the present. The conclusion, then, is not an ending, but a recognition of a perpetual becoming. Yakutsk is not a city that has solved the problem of the cold. It is a city that has learned to live within the question of it. Its future is uncertain, challenged by a warming world that paradoxically threatens its frozen foundation. Yet, if history is any guide, its greatest resource is not the diamonds under the earth or the gas in its fields, but the accumulated adaptive intelligence of its people, an intelligence that blends the keen observation of the hunter with. They have mastered the art of balance on the knife edge of extremity, and in doing so, they hold a wisdom vital for our collective future. They understand that resilience is not about building walls against nature, but about building flexible, communal structures that can dance with its rhythms, however harsh those rhythms may become. So we leave this world of ice and indomitable spirit, carrying with us the echoes of its lesson. We leave the visual poetry of breath crystallizing in the air, the sound of snow crunching with glassy precision, the taste of clean, sharp cold, and the deeper, more nourishing taste of shared cummies in a warm room. We carry the image of a community where every person is a vital stitch in the thermal fabric of survival, where a child's mastery of tying a boot is a triumph, and where the northern lights dance over a city that has earned its place. And so, my dear friend, our long journey to the coldest city on earth gently comes to a close. We have wandered its wide, snowy streets, felt the bite of its air, and witnessed the incredible warmth that its people cultivate in the very heart of the freeze. I hope this detailed, quiet exploration has wrapped around your mind like a soft blanket, easing away the tensions of the day and leading you into a state of deep, tranquil rest. Remember, just as the people of Yakutsk tend their inner warmth against the outer cold, you too can nurture your own peaceful core, a quiet sanctuary within. If this journey to restful storytelling has been a comfort to you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you simply let me know you'd like to continue these voyages together, exploring more worlds designed to guide you gently into sleep. It is the greatest support you can offer. For now, let the stillness of that frozen landscape settle within you. Feel the profound calm, the resilient peace. Allow your breathing to find its own slow, steady rhythm. Let your body feel heavy and supported, your mind soft and quiet. You have traveled far in your imagination, and now it is time to journey into deep, restorative sleep. Thank you for listening. May your night be peaceful and your dreams serene. Good night.